Hey guys, welcome back to Connor Reads. Today we're going through the Shadow Rhuidean, and it's Act 2-ish. And the reason why I put ish is because I don't think I'm at the end of Act 2. We still haven't really delved into Nynaeve's story, moving across to Tanchico. We haven't really talked about the White Tower. Haven't even read more about the White Tower since I last spoke to you. But so much has happened that if I waited until the end and all of that had happened, the video would be like 3 hours long. So we're just gonna hop into the storylines that we've got so far because they are so good. Let's get into it. Just before we move any further, there's gonna be a ton of spoilers for this book. So if you haven't read the book yet, it's not the video for you. Go back and watch the previous ones. So we're gonna start with the big one. So we have Rand, Mat, and the Aiel. Everybody moved across there really quickly via portal key. Now my predictions were way off. I had no clue that he was going to be going on that journey as well. So, you know, that's my first prediction from the last video, completely blown out the window. And when I last left you, we had Mat and Rand about to go into Rhuidean. And I've not been more excited for a chapter of this series than that chapter. I was so fired up to read it. And in fact, I read it way too late in the night, so I had to go back, and before I did this video I reread all of Rand's experiences and Mat's experiences just in the city, because I'm a bit further along now, because there was just so much information. So obvious big takeaways from Rand's experience in Rhuidean, going through the trials and tribulations that, you know, the clan chiefs go through, is number one, we saw the Dark One's prison being opened, or Rand thinks that's what he saw, and that was because of some Aes Sedai believing that they could get, they could access like one source instead of the two separate sources, and everyone was going to be able to work their magic together. And then, I don't know if that's what caused it, but that's what they were trying to do, I think. And then Bosch, the Dark One, breaks free because his prison is opened up. We also learned that Aiel is split into several different factions, but back in the day when that was happening, they were essentially in servitude of the Aes Sedai, and they were pacifists. They did not carry any weapons, they did not conduct any kind of war, and that was really interesting. And then as we go along through the experiences, obviously I've started at the end in the way the book tells it, but the start chronologically, then we essentially go through, and the Aes Sedai gave all of their magical items and a ton of different really important things to the Aiel, or the Gen Aiel, I suppose I should call them, the OGs, the originals. And what they did was they put them on carts, and they essentially were told, hey, you've got to walk and keep on walking. And that reminded me a lot of the current Tinkers. So I believe obviously that, you know, the reason why the current Tinkers are allowed into the Threefold Land, the Waste, with the Aiel, is because they're the Gen still, the pacifists, because we found out in the first book or second book that they were pacifists as well. So that's a nice link right there, and I'll move back to that in a moment. Now on their journey through time, eventually there was a split, and we saw the very first like fighting Aiel. We also met the very first maiden of the spear. I believe her name was Morin. She was really cool. She went to go and get her daughter back, and now it's like splitting into different factions because the Gen, the pacifists, decided, no, you know, you're not following the way of the leaf, which is the way of the tree of life, which is, you know, pacifism, I believe is the word. We saw mention of Nims, which is like the green man from the first one. Ogiers were there as well, and essentially just a ton happened. We learned all about the Aiel's past, and it brings us up to date where we believe that they are going to follow Rand, but it seems like it's gonna be a lot more complicated than that. So the first thing I want to address is these Tinkers. Like I said, I believe obviously they were the Aiel at some point. Maybe they have continued that pacifist lifestyle. And one thing that continuously gets mentioned for the Tinkers is the Travelers is they're looking for the song, and they're convinced this song is going to like change everything back. I'm thinking maybe that is either misinterpreted information, or maybe it is the correct information that, you know, one of them was told by the Aes Sedai of the time, you know, way back when, and maybe it's something like the reverse of what happened with regards to the splitting of the Dark One. I don't know, I'm kind of reaching here because it's so difficult with like, we've given so much information, but also been told and revealed that the world is so big and so much has happened that it makes all these predictions so much harder. But I believe that song will be super important, but probably way down the line, like book 10, 11, 12, 14, and it's going to be like a big solution to something. Something that was also mentioned when Rand was asking about his real parents was that his father was killed by a man who looked a bit like his mother. I don't know if that's a throwaway thing, but Jordan doesn't really seem to do throwaway comments, so I was interested by that. I have no prediction based on that, but maybe it's still like a shapeshifter or somebody who needed his dad out of the picture. I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into that, but that really stuck out for me in the conversations after him coming out. Now that Rand is back out, do not trust the Tinkerers. I don't believe that those are real Tinkerers and tradespeople. I think that those are bad people, the ones that they met on their walk across to where he's going to give the speech and all of the tribes/clans come together. Number one, they knew they were going to Rhuidean. They acted all surprised, like, oh, I don't know how we got in here and I don't know how we don't have a guide. They knew what they were doing and where they were going, 100%. Plus, they came from the direction where the Trollocs and the Fades came from as well. So I do not trust these people at all, and neither does Rand. I think they've got to go ASAP. My final thought when it comes to Rand is actually a bit further back. So when he sticks Calendor into the floor, the sword, the powerful Sangreal, he says that there's like a curse on it, so the first person to try and take it, I believe, is going to die. I think that will definitely happen. I don't think it's going to be this book, but I also think it's going to be somebody that Rand didn't intend to die. I've just got a feeling about that. And that kind of concludes my feelings for Rand. Honestly, I like him a lot in this book. His journey is so big and so vast, and it already took such a big, it came out of left field that he did that. I thought he was going to go and do something just more ordinary, I suppose, and props to Jordan for making that happen. He now has to unite the Aiel. I think that there's no way of doing that without bloodshed. I think that it kind of reminds me of some books I read where Genghis Khan had to unite a ton of warring factions, and the only way you really manage to do it is by being successful in war. So I think he's going to have to challenge somebody, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's it's the people who are already convinced by him. I don't know, but I think there's going to be bloodshed for him to convince the Aiel that they're coming with him. And one last thing for Rand's storyline, it's said that the Aiel, I know I say their name different every time, Aiel, essentially only a few of them are going to survive, but they will survive as a species if they follow him, which is scary. But I was thinking of two things. Number one, they die via combat during the big wars to come, but I think that's kind of obvious, like that's going to happen anyway. My thinking was maybe the Aiel were wrong to start learning how to fight, and the Aes Sedai were correct in telling them you need to be pacifists and follow the way of the tree. I think it was way of the leaf. Maybe they need to go back to that, and that's why so many of them die. They realize, okay, we did stray from the correct way of doing things, and there must be a reason why the Aes Sedai said it was so important and why they believed in it so much previously. So I think maybe they go back to that, and that's why so many of them are murdered or killed. Just a theory, but I don't know. That was what sprung out to me when I was thinking about their scenario. On to Mat. Mat gets braver every single book. I love it. Moving into and through another Terangriel into like they got described as like the last people he went through to speak to, the ones who could answer questions were snakes, and these ones now are like foxes. And there's certain things, I think it was iron, music, and two more other things what they don't allow because they're like weapons to them. And I'll just say I'm very confused. I have no idea who they are, what they could be, but they're obviously going to be important. Are they in the future? Are they in the past? Is it a parallel world? How are they able to grant so many gifts and truths? For a minute, I thought they might be the Forsaken because of the number of them that were there. I think it was 4 this time, 5 last time, and there's 9 left. But I'm stumped. I've got no idea, and it's awesome. So let's talk about the gifts that Mat asks for. Now, these guys don't give answers. They obviously give truths, but there needs to be a price. And he didn't name one. But the first thing he wanted was the gaps filled in his memory. And now he knows the old language and can remember things that is obviously not from his life or from a long time ago in battles fought, etc. I think maybe he is a direct descendant of Manetheren. Now, I know they're all descendants, and I forget if Manetheren is the name of the actual king and the place. So forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Manetheren was the name of the king as well. He was named after him, of that area. I think that he is a direct descendant, and maybe he can see through the eyes of the descendants and get all that information, which is interesting, is going to be obviously extremely useful moving forward. But that was the only explanation I could think of as to why he gets all those memories filled in as well. The second thing he wanted was for the Aes Sedai to not have power over him anymore, and to like get rid of their hold on him, especially Moiraine, I think was who he had in mind. And conveniently, when they came out, he was banged up, but Moiraine didn't heal him. He asked her not to, but he has been healed by her before. I thought that was really too convenient. So I think that they took that literally, and now if they're able to bestow this gift, maybe the Aes Sedai, the women side of the power, Saidan, is unable to touch him, is unable to like have an effect on him. That would be my guess for him moving forward. Like maybe they took that literally, because that's the only way I could think that the Aes Sedai would have no pull and power over him, because it's not like he's just gonna stop listening to them, or he can get rid of all the other influences, like socio-economic influences. So the only thing I can think of is that all of a sudden the power doesn't work on him. But again, I don't know, like it's so complicated now. The last thing he asked for was to leave, which obviously they allowed him to leave really, really quickly. When Rand found him, he was hanging, and he had technically died. So I don't know if that was his price paid, but the spear did say, you know, you have paid the price. And he comes out with that spear with ravens on it. I think that is an evil weapon. However, not in the same way the dagger was. I think it's just a weapon. But I think it must be something that maybe the Forsaken used previously, or maybe the Dark One used previously. I don't know, but I don't think it's evil now, but has been used for evil previously. When it comes to the medallion, I think that's obviously related to the people who gave it to him, because they were described like as, you know, foxes, and the other ones as snakes. So I have no idea what the power would be for that thing, but maybe he can ask for more stuff, or I don't know. This is so hard, these mid-book predictions, but especially this book, it's so difficult. So as for Mat moving forwards, I think he's going to stay with Rand for the rest of this book. The reason for that is because I don't see any way he can leave. I think the only way he can leave is via the Tinkerers, who that's what he was thinking of doing at the point of the book I'm at. However, I don't think those are good guys, and I don't think they'll be alive for too much longer. So I think Mat sticks with Rand. Pretty weak prediction with regards to like intellect, but I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. The other story, which has taken up a ton of page time and has been awesome, is Perrin, Padan Fain, Aiel, Tam, the Aes Sedai, the people of the Two Rivers, the people at Taran Ferry, the White Cloaks, the Trollocs, the Midriel, all in that region. So it's a recipe for disaster. First thing I want to say is that Padan Fain is a really good character. I don't know why I really like him. Obviously, I don't like him over, you know, the good people, but he's just super interesting. It's interesting, and he also is having some memories from like a really long time ago. I think obviously that's the Mordath inside of him, if that is, you know, who's inside of him, but from that area, because I know he got infected, all the way back to the Trolloc Wars, etc. as well. So that's where the memories are coming from. So, you know, it's looking more and more likely that he is the person with the two faces that Perrin has to fight. It's also interesting to see what he's going and doing, because every time the White Cloaks give him people, you know, who are supposed to help him, but really they're keeping an eye on him, they die. So he obviously knows, and he's murdering them. And he has a Fade, and he's managed to torture the Fade enough that the Fade is going to do his bidding, which is like a huge power move. Because, I don't know, that's just badass. Like, the Fades are scary to everyone, and yet he's powerful and scary enough to do that to somebody. So I'm not sure what he's up to. He keeps on disappearing down south. I don't know if that's whether to go and get like the Fades and maybe convince some Trollocs to work for him as well, or is he going down there to meet somebody in the Two Rivers area? Hopefully we don't have a snake in the grass, but if we did, I would guess the snake in the grass is the lady from the Green Aja who's there. I also think it's super weak that Aes Sedai are there and they haven't done more to help out the villages. I just feel like they could be doing more. I know Veren's there, I kind of like her, but yeah, it's such a volatile situation down there. I think overall, that scenario, the only way we can see victory is if the Two Rivers people manage to get the Trollocs and Fades to attack the White Cloaks, or vice versa, so that they can either escape or defeat whichever force remains, which will be severely weakened. But where does Padan Fain come into that? I don't see Padan Fain dying this time around. I definitely don't. He's too good of a character, and we don't know enough about him or Mordeth, which is this like crazy power that killed tons of the Dark One's forces, and they're too scared to even go through there regularly as well. Like, that's big. I can't wait to learn more about him. Some things that are definitely fishy about that storyline is, number one, who is Fael's father? Like, she keeps on changing where she grew up and what she did. Like, is she fishy, or is her dad someone fishy? I think it's her dad. Maybe her dad was maybe not Forsaken, that's too long ago, but like a false dragon, or somebody, just a bad person from previously, or a dark friend or something along those lines. She's definitely not proud of him. And the final thing I wanted to address is Slayer. So Slayer is a character who can obviously dream walk, is dangerous and murdering people in and around that Two Rivers area. I don't think it's Padan Fain, because he's kind of been accounted for. The only person who's kind of like a spare piece in that area that I know of is Lord Luke, or Luck, L-U-C. He's like the only character who popped in. He's on the hunt for the Great Horn, but he's been around for a long time in that area, and I just feel like he doesn't fit in yet, unless I've missed something. So is he going to end up being Slayer? And what's Slayer doing in that area? And from, I probably should have reread something before I did this video, but from my understanding, Slayer was neither good nor bad. He's dangerous, but neither good nor bad. So we'll see. If I had to guess outright right now, I'd say Lord Luke is connected to Slayer. And I'm more and more convinced that Padan Fain is Bors. But only reason is because one chapter opens up with the man who calls himself Ordif, which is the name he's taken on, and that's how Bors always referred to himself as well. So I suppose we'll see. I'd love to hear you guys' comments on my guesses and my reactions so far. Outside of that, if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. We've got a ton of videos. I'm going to link some from like previous predictions and projections I've done. It's been such a good community, and honestly, I want to say that this has been so difficult to do predictions for. Like the world, we've gotten so much more information, but all it's done is made me understand that I don't know. I know that I don't know enough, if that makes sense. Whereas before, I didn't know that I didn't know, like how big the world was. But now I do know that I don't know how big the world is and how crazy everything is. So it makes me so much more hesitant to give predictions. But yeah, it's been a blast. I've really enjoyed it so far, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much.